The second someone gets gentle with you, something in you goes cold. Not calm, not grounded, cold. And that's confusing, because 5 seconds earlier, you wanted the comfort. You wanted the closeness. You wanted someone to be soft with you. You wanted the exact thing you start pulling away from the moment it becomes real. That reaction feels ugly. Because from the outside, it can look like you're difficult, ungrateful, emotionally unavailable, like nothing is ever enough for you. But from the inside, it usually feels different. It feels like the softness is doing something to you that you can't tolerate for very long. You get tense. You stop making eye contact. You go quiet. You get short. You feel weirdly irritated by how kind they're being. You want them close, but you also want the whole moment to stop. And if this is you, you probably don't call it fear. You call it awkwardness. You call it being weird with affection. You call it not liking clingy energy. You call it not being good at receiving comfort. You call it needing space. But sometimes that's not the deepest truth. Sometimes the problem is not kindness. Sometimes the problem is what kindness touches. Because gentleness can expose the exact part of you that you usually keep hidden. The part that needs, the part that hurts, the part that wanted comfort way more than you want anyone to know. And for some people, that's where the shame starts. That's why softness can feel almost unbearable. Not because it's bad, because it gets too close to your need. The moment someone is genuinely gentle with you, the moment gets real. You're no longer pretending you're fine. You're no longer managing how strong you look. You're no longer just thinking about comfort in theory. Now someone is actually there, actually seeing you, actually treating you like you matter in a fragile moment. And that can feel way more exposing than pain itself. Pain you can hide. Softness is harder to hide inside. That's why some people can survive chaos better than tenderness. Chaos is familiar. Chaos keeps you defended. Chaos lets you stay activated, scanning, performing, controlling. But tenderness asks for something else. It asks you to soften too. And if softening was never safe before, your body may react to gentleness like it's the dangerous part. That's the twist. You may not be most afraid of pain. You may be more afraid of what happens when pain is met kindly. Because then you feel it. Then you need. Then you're visible. Then someone can see exactly how much this mattered to you. And if that state ever got tied to embarrassment, pity, rejection, guilt, or being made to feel small, your body remembers. Maybe kindness used to come with a hidden cost. Maybe someone comforted you in a way that made you feel pathetic. Maybe they got soft with you and then later used your vulnerability against you. Maybe they made your need look dramatic. Maybe the softness came too late. Maybe it was inconsistent enough that tenderness never felt stable. Maybe affection showed up only when you were already falling apart. Maybe the people who were supposed to soothe you did it with impatience in their eyes. So now gentleness is not just gentleness. It's exposure. It's risk. It's the moment your body stops hiding and starts remembering. That's why a gentle tone can make your jaw tighten. That's why someone rubbing your back can make you stiffen. That's why a soft, "Hey, I've got you," can make you want to look away. That's why the warmer they get, the colder you get. Not because you don't want them. Because some part of you is trying to survive being seen in a state that never felt safe to be seen in. This is one of the cruelest contradictions. You want someone kind, but kindness makes you suspicious. You want comfort, but comfort makes you self-conscious. You want softness, but softness makes you feel weak. You want someone to stay, but the moment they stay gently, you start shutting the door from the inside. That's why this pattern creates so much confusion in relationships. The other person feels your distance and thinks, "I'm trying to love you right now. Why are you disappearing?" And you may not know how to answer that. Because the answer is not simple. It's not, "I don't care." It's not, "I don't want this." It's not even always, "You're too much." A lot of the time, it's closer to, "I don't know how to let someone be this soft with me without feeling exposed. I don't know how to stay open when kindness touches the part of me that feels small. I don't know how to receive gentleness without suddenly feeling weak, awkward, or ashamed." That's very different. Because now we're not talking about personality. We're talking about a body that learned to associate softness with danger. And when that happens, coldness becomes a fast form of control. Short answers. Flat tone. Looking away. A tiny wall in your face. The urge to make a joke and move on. The urge to act normal too quickly. The urge to make the other person less gentle so you can stop feeling what their gentleness is bringing up. That coldness can feel automatic. It happens before you've even fully understood what's going on. First, the softness arrives. Then the shame lights up. Then the body protects. That's the sequence. And if you don't recognize it, you may misread yourself completely. You may think, maybe I hate affection. Maybe I'm broken. Maybe I'm emotionally unavailable. Maybe I ruin good things. Maybe I only like people who are hard to get. Maybe I don't actually want love. But sometimes the truth is more painful and more specific. Sometimes you do want love. You just don't know how to stay open when love gets gentle. Because gentle is where your defenses feel most exposed. Anybody can say they want kindness. That part is easy. The harder part is what happens in your body when kindness is no longer abstract. When it's in the tone, in the eyes, in the hand on your shoulder, in the way somebody notices your pain and doesn't turn away from it. For some people, that kind of softness feels healing. For other people, it feels like too much light hitting something they've kept hidden for years. And too much light makes them go cold. That doesn't mean the gentleness is wrong. It means the gentleness is touching something old. The body is not saying, this person is bad. The body may be saying, I do not know how to survive being this visible and this cared for at the same time. That's why you can miss softness and still recoil from it. That's why you can long for a gentle person and still get weirdly defensive when they're actually gentle. That's why you can want tenderness desperately and then act like you hate it. This pattern isn't random, and it isn't proof that you're impossible. It's proof that your body may have learned to trust tension more than tenderness. Tension lets you stay sharp. Tenderness asks you to be reachable. And being reachable can feel dangerous if being soft once made you feel embarrassed, dependent, or powerless. So no, this is not just how you are. And it's not some mysterious flaw in your personality. It may be a protection pattern. One that says, if this gets too soft, get cold. If this gets too close, shut down. If this gets too real, create distance before the shame gets worse. That pattern probably helped you once, but it also costs you. It costs you closeness. It costs you ease. It costs you the ability to stay in the exact moments your heart wanted most. And that's the grief in this. You don't just lose people, you lose moments. Moments where you could have stayed. Moments where you could have received. Moments where you could have let gentleness land. Instead, your body protects first. And later, you're left trying to explain why the thing you wanted suddenly felt unbearable. You were never wrong for needing softness. You were taught to feel unsafe in the exact moment softness became real. That is not the same thing. And once you see that, the reaction starts making more sense. You stop glorifying the coldness. You stop calling it just my personality. You stop assuming distance means truth. Sometimes distance is just what your body does when kindness gets too close to your shame. If this hit, subscribe, because this channel is for the patterns that look like personality until you saw the wound underneath them. And watch the next video on why you'd rather suffer than be held, if pain started feeling safer than comfort. Send this to the person who goes cold the second someone gets gentle with them.